Hello everyone, welcome back to this FM17 experiment where we take a look at what would happen if a non-league team was given the best training and youth facilities in the world. How far would they go? At what point would they need other sort of factors to come in and change their development? And is there a ceiling on how much excellent facilities can do for a club? Now, last time out with Salford, we had given them all of these facilities. They'd done quite well over the years. They sort of drifted around a bit, then got into League Two, started to yo-yo, fell out again, got back in the Football League, and this time they did very well, finishing fourth in their first season, and then getting promotion 2 seasons after that. Another little yo-yo period before finally establishing themselves as a League One team. So it looked like the facilities did a very good job, especially having a big impact in the lower leagues. It also did well for them financially as they picked up a lot of money through selling players as well. If you just go back through, you see 5, 6, 4, 5, quite a lot of money there just sort of going between the teams. Just seeing if there are any major transfers that I've forgotten about. No. So there were, especially towards the latter end of the last episode, you could see that they were starting to get a bit more cash coming in because of the youth facilities, and in their squad they did have a few players, but a lot of them were still getting poached by the bigger clubs, which was definitely a problem. They've got Danny Power here. He's 21 years old. He actually came in from Arsenal and then signed from Reading on a free. It's mostly the players in their under 18s and under 21s that are actually sold for players, because the rest are all getting sold on to other clubs. So what we're going to do today is just jump forward another few years. We'll see how the club's getting on, and if they've managed to make that breakthrough into the Premier League. They're only 2 leagues away, and also if they'll be able to start hanging on to some of their better youth prospects as they come through the club. So I'll go forward now and I'll see you in just a second. Well, we have gone now 14 more years into the future. It's 2053. They've had perfect facilities now for 36 years in total, and you can see that they haven't managed to break out of League One. They are stuck here. They managed to get into the Championship by winning League One, and then they finished 23rd, which didn't help. They dropped down and spent a long period of time in League One, getting some 16th, 12th place finishes before last season finishing 3rd. Now, it is currently the 17th of February. They are partway through another season, and if we just take a look at the Championship, we might be able to see, if the game loads, that they're actually down in 24th place. They are really struggling, just 19 points, alongside Sunderland down there, who could fall into League One. So it looks like they'll be dropping down into League One, which is probably their natural territory with these facilities. Now, it is important to note that their facilities have seriously dipped. They are now, if we take a look, on 13 training facilities, 15 youth facilities, but they still have excellent junior coaching and youth recruitment. That hasn't changed much at all, but it's a shame to see the training and youth facilities drop so much. In theory, I could have put them back up to 20, but they weren't dropped that much anyway. But it does show that the club are putting absolutely no money into the facilities of the club. And if we take a look at overall, they are now in a nearly 10,000 seater stadium, 5,939 seated, so they have at least been expanding the stadium, but their other facilities have definitely been left by the wayside. Now, if we take a look at their players, and hopefully they've managed to hang on to 1 or 2 of their better players. David Martindale is 24. He is one that they signed for £2.3 million, so they are putting a bit of money back into the first team. Luke Williams, he has come in for 215k this season. Leon Young in on loan. Luke Jamieson, he is another player that they brought in for a bit of cash, so it isn't their youth prospects in the first team still. It looks like it's a case that either they're not good enough or they're still being poached by bigger clubs, because they're reliant on players from different Premier League teams just falling out. Stephen Ilcock, not quite a Salford graduate. I thought we might have the first one there. Palacios, almost certainly not going to be a Salford graduate. He's actually from Brazil. Gary Poole, what about you? He's 28 years old and he's from West Brom. Simon Dalton, 23 years old, from Swansea. So it looks like absolutely none of these players have actually come through the Salford Academy. Here's the first one, Brian Pritchard. He's been with the club a long time, including their long stretch of time in League One, finally getting his chance in the Championship after going out on loan a couple of times as well. So he is the first one. He's only worth 230k, but he's been with the club the whole time. Jamie Davidson, he is from Southampton. Kyle Dawes is another Salford graduate, so he's starting to see a few more of them now, and he's getting a little bit of playing time, but for the most part they're still reliant on players from elsewhere. I can only assume that's because they're losing them to other clubs. Michael Young, I assume he is a Salford graduate at 17 years old, and if you have a look at their under-18s, Scott Davies, I think the best prospect they've got. He is a 16-year-old. He looks all right, actually, for League One or the Championship, and he has been with the club a couple of years now. So you can see they are still bringing players through. If we take a look at their transfer history over the last 14 years and see who they've sold, they lost David Martindale for 2.3. Brought him in, sorry, for £2.3 million. Players going out. Kenny Berry, he went for just shy of £1 million. He was a Salford graduate, left the club. John Kelly went for £500,000, another Salford graduate, so you can see the theme here. Ben Woods, 500k, 19 years old, another Salford graduate, so you can see exactly where these players are going. James Saunders, where does he go? Yep, another Salford player going, so you can see why they don't have these players in their first team. It's because they're all getting sold. £1.1 million for David Vaughan, who's 21 years old and is from Salford. So their youth recruitment is still definitely doing things for them. It's bringing in a good couple of million a year. They certainly got a lot of money this season. Nick Davies went for £2.2 million. He's 30 years old, not a Salford graduate. Scott Pilkington went to Aston Villa. He is, again, a player they brought in and managed to turn a nice profit on. Who else do they have here? Ron Chambers went to QPR for up to £2.2 million. Another player that they turned, brought him in on a free and then sold him to QPR for a couple of £1 million. So they got a decent chunk of money that season. 1.7 million this season. Stephen Edgar going to Hearts, or Stephen Edgar going to Hearts. Another player that they have flipped, signing for just 6.25k. Not bad, getting 1.1 million pounds for him. If we go back again, 3.3 million this season. Billy Horton. He went to Bournemouth, now at QPR, another player they flipped. So they are doing that standard thing that you have to do when you want to climb the lower leagues by signing players and then flipping them. But they have this big advantage of having their own academy players coming through as well. And it looks like they are just being sold on. They had a big spate of them recently. Paul Bradford, no history on him. We're going a bit too far back at this point. £2.7 million for Dale Flynn. He is now 38 years old. But he is another player they flipped for a profit. Quite a lot of players going out this year. Michael Howell went to Swansea. He is a Salford graduate, so they managed to turn £1.7 million on him. So you can see that is the common theme here. When they do get the youth graduates, they are poached usually before they even hit the age of 20 and then sold to bigger teams. And the rest of the time they're reinvesting that money in younger players who they then flip for even more cash coming in. And that's the sort of secret to how they're rising up the leagues, although that has definitely seems to have stagnated at this point. They've spent so long in League One without breaking out. A couple of times managing to get into the Championship, but immediately getting relegated, or it certainly looks like that will happen for the second time this season. Now, it is an option that I could actually bump back up the facilities to 2020 and maybe go forward another 10, 15 years into the future and see if it makes any difference having those facilities once again. But I think that will be it for this episode. So let me know in the comments if there is any interest in us maybe doing that, going forward another 10 years. If not, we will end this experiment here. But drop a like on it if you've enjoyed this experiment. Make sure to let me know in the comments if you've got ideas for other things that I can do that you'd like to see me do on Football Manager 2017. Make sure to subscribe as well for more experiments and more series in Football Manager. But until next time, see ya.